I know part of that is talking with kids about setting goals so that they have a reason not to do drugs or get into premarital sex, which might lead to a family before time.
And that's one of the things we like as well, is a lot of our kids don't have goals. And I can only go off an assumption, but when I sit with a student and this student doesn't have goals, I can only assume that that parent doesn't discuss goals with that student. Only off assumption, just because of what they relate to me. And that's something that I think a lot of our kids lack in suburban and in urban areas, is the fact that they don't have the goals that they should have to be able to go to the next level. That's something we definitely are missing. So that's one of the things that I do bring to the table, me and my guys, are we will sit down with the student, and I don't want to talk about your academics. I want to talk about, what do you want to do in 5 years? What do you want to do in 10 years? And then we're going to sit down and we're going to make out a game plan on what it's going to take for you to get there. We're going to brainstorm the ideas, and then we're going to break it all down exactly what it's going to take for you to get there. And then every time you see me, every week that I come back, we're going to continuously discuss this exact same conversation of, you want to become a lawyer in 15 years or 10 years or whatever the case may be. That's what we're going to converse on every time you see me, to keep that.
So what are you doing to get there, in other words?
Exactly. And we're going to run workshops, and we're going to talk about success and goals. One of the workshops that I tend to run often with a lot of students I work with is I'll give them a Teach Your Kids Success form, and I want you to write down the top 15 things that you're most thankful or grateful for. I was actually given that by Roy Clark. He had me write 50. And one of the things that does for me, and that I felt that it would do for them, is, one, it keeps them in tune. If they look at this every day, it'll keep them in tune on what's important. So that's going to affect some of their decision making on whether they choose to go this route or go that route based off of what's important to them. Plus, it's going to keep those goals in mind for the long-term future.
Okay, and for folks who aren't familiar with Roy Clark, Roy was a previous guest on NewsMakers and heads up the organization Mentor One in West Michigan. A very inspirational man, and someone who's full of energy like you are, Kris, full of energy.
Definitely.
You know, as you think about your experience with this organization of yours, teaching kids success, I know you've touched a lot of young people. You don't, of course, need to mention any specific names, but I'd like to ask you, when I ask you about young people that you've had a chance to make an impact on, who comes to mind? A story.
I have one young lady that I've been working with from one of the high schools here. She heard my story, and obviously she was moved by it. About an hour had passed, and she came back and she had dropped a letter off to the teacher. The teacher pulls the letter out, she reads the letter, and she just starts to cry. And so I actually had a guest that day as well who was there to sit in on the speaking to hear me from one of the ministers I was working with. She pulls the letter out. I read the letter. It's a young lady who was adopted. She had been through a few things in life, a couple of trials and tribulations over her short lifetime of 15 years. And she was touched by my story because it gave her a sense of hope that there was a different way of doing things. There was something bigger and better for her future. And so that was definitely touching here. I have another student as well from one of the schools that I've been working with who has a father figure who's been on drugs for a very long time, roughly around the idea of 20 years or so. He's been on heroin. Me and her have had plenty of conversations. I've spoken with her mother about it, and just me sitting down and talking with her and having those conversations and making sure that she knows this is not something he has control of. I had to look at it as my dad was sick, like a flu or a cancer, and it's something that he doesn't have control over. But in time, he can get better. And just me giving her that was a sense of hope for her that one day he will get better and he'll be the father that I want. So that was definitely one that definitely hit me right in the heart, definitely.
Very powerful. And, you know, I was really struck by some of these letters because I had a chance to read some of the letters of young people who contacted you after seeing you. And you know, here's an example of the kind of things that Kris gets from young people that he has a chance to speak with. This is a young woman who wrote to you and said, "You spoke to my school this morning, and I just wanted to tell you that a lot of what you said helped me feel a little less lonely. This is partly because we've come from almost the same background. My dad is also a heroin addict, and ever since I can remember, he has been financially supported by my mom and has never had a real legitimate job. So my mom was always forced to pay the bills and raise us on our own, even though my dad was always there." And she continues to talk about a situation of moving constantly that would be challenging for any young person, but combine that with drugs and with really the time in which we live.
Definitely.
And you are really struck by the fact that young people need other influences in their lives, positive influences and goals, as we talked about.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the fact that young person is in a situation, she's not happy with her situation, she's not happy with the way things are going, but she doesn't know how to go about changing it, and no one's willing to take the time out to sit down and with her and say, there's a better way of handling this. Here, let me show you what your future can look like if you just go about doing it this way. So, of course, she's heard my story. We've had plenty of conversations since this time, and we are now on a progress of making progress with her through school. She'll be graduating this year, which I'm excited about. And so the plan now is to get her into whatever her career is from here.
Kris, of course, Michigan has new graduation requirements now, and of course, standardized testing with the No Child Left Behind Act has become a real pressure point for school districts. They don't have a lot of time in the day, the school day, outside of academics in order to give organizations like yours a venue to inspire young people. Has this been a challenge?
It is. It actually is. And it's sad to me because the fact that our school system nowadays, we're still using the same system we used 100 years ago. And obviously we're realizing that system isn't effective anymore because things change, times change. We have to keep on moving with the times. So we're at a point now where we need to make changes. We need to do things just a little bit untraditional, out of the ordinary. I personally think there should be some type of life skill program set into the schools because a lot of our kids nowadays are experiencing real life things on a regular basis versus what it was 50 years ago, 60 years ago. So knowing that we need something in place to be able to teach these kids, this is how you handle this, here's how you handle that. It's not being done. The counselors we have focus more in on grades versus focusing in on the real life things that are affecting those grades. And that's what we don't promote, and that's what we don't focus in enough on, I believe, in our school system nowadays.
Hopefully that'll change over time.
Definitely.
Speaking of change, this is a big political year. We're going to elect a new president coming this fall. I have been struck by this incredible outpouring that we have seen among young people in particular for Barack Obama.
Definitely.
Thousands and thousands of people going to see him. And his message of hope for the future rather than a message of fear of the future. Tell me your thoughts on Barack Obama and the kind of impact that he is having and that if he is elected president might have in our country.
Oh, wow. I like Barack. I like Hillary as well. I think it's kind of a tough one. I think he would make a very good president. I like some of his views. I like what he's looking to do with avoiding the war, getting back with some of our youth, helping the youth prosper at a faster rate than what they're going the opposite direction now. I think that's something that's definitely needed. And if he becomes president, I see a huge change. First of all, it's the first black president we've ever had, so that there is a start. And I think that change is what's definitely needed now. We've had so many Republicans over the last few years. I would like to see some kind of change happen and see where that goes from there.
Tell me, because you have a lot more experience working directly with young people. You're also much younger than I am as well, so you're closer to the years of high school yourself. Right. Tell me the kind of impact it would have to have someone like Barack Obama as president that young people could look up to and see and say, this is someone who made it through very difficult circumstances.
Definitely.
Who, in fact, like you, lived with his grandparents, had challenges, a father not there for him either, and now, if this were to happen, he's president. What kind of impact would that have for young people?
That would be huge for young people. Young people as a whole, because one of the things that he does focus in on that I've heard in some of his campaigns is helping young people, showing young people a way of getting ahead. Towards the inner city young people, I think it'll definitely be inspirational, because that there is a part of what I mean with giving a kid a sense of hope. Them being able to see someone of minority make it to this level and this stature where they want to be, or where they have never thought about being, to be able to see that done is huge. So that gives them a sense of inspiration, a sense of hope that it can be done. So I think that's perfect. Perfect. I love it.
Beyond that, you mentioned when you speak to young people, you talk about the future. You talk about goal setting with them. I'm wondering if you could give advice to our political leaders, the folks who are already in office,
Right.
and the folks who want to be in office. What advice would you give them for helping young people today meet the goals of success that you talk about?
In regards to the political aspect of it, I would like to see more of them focus in on younger people. And the reason being is because that's our future. Even at only 27 years old, I'm almost over the hill, in my opinion. Once I reach the 30 mark, it pushes me over. So
That's a tough birthday, by the way.
Right.
I've been through it.
So with the younger people, they're our future. So we need to invest time into them. That's the only thing that we're going to have to keep this country growing and growing in a positive way and developing in a more positive way, is by spending more time and focusing more attention into our young people.
So funding for education, I
It's
imagine.
huge. It's huge for me.
Yeah.
I
What
mean,
about
that's something we
college?
lack.
What about, I mean, we have seen some increases, for instance, in Pell Grants, in terms of making college more available to more people.
I like the idea of college. I did go to college. I ended up dropping out of college, and the reason being is college just was not a fit for me. I knew that I was self-motivated, I was driven, and I was determined to reach my goals, and I felt that I could do it without going the traditional route. And so that's what I've done.
Maybe we should say post-secondary education, and that's a point that we
Right.
make.
We're at a point nowadays where college is not built for every single child and student. It's not nowadays. Some kids just are not here mentally prepared or built to be in college. I would like to see that we not pressure so many kids to go to college and set themselves up for failure because they're in a position that they truly don't want to be in. I would like to see us promote more or less of goals and success and find out exactly what it is they want to do, and then we can show them, oh, you want to become a lawyer? Okay, here's what it takes to become a lawyer. Here's the route to do that. Oh, you want to be an entrepreneur? Well, you can go to college, but at the same time, here's a different avenue you can take to become an entrepreneur. It's a little bit different, a little bit bumpier, but it can still be done if you're self-motivated and determined to do it. And that's one of the things that I bring to the table. I'm not there to pressure kids and preach this whole go to college, because a lot of our kids aren't, like I said, driven to go that route. A lot of our kids nowadays are self-motivated and driven to do other things, and some of the things they can do independently. So one of the things I do focus in on is when I talk to students about the future, I don't promote go out, get a job. I promote if you want to be self-independent, go out, create jobs. And that's one of the things that I feel we need to focus in on both sides of the tracks with a lot of our young students nowadays.
And we've had actually a guest on this program from the West Michigan Strategic Alliance who said Grand Rapids is a place certainly to promote that. That we actually have more entrepreneurs per capita in this area than many areas of the country. I remember that was a powerful experience in my life in high school, was going through the Junior Achievement Program and learning about what it takes to make a product, sell a product, and I didn't end up doing that in my own life, but it was powerful. Well, Kris, it's been great to meet you, and wish you the best of luck with teaching kids success. Appreciate it. Hopefully we'll be talking again and maybe talking about some of your success stories.
That's the plan.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us at home as well. We'll see you next time on NewsMakers.